Really? Did he have to be voiced by Soichiro Hoshi? Okay, let's see. Jeez, I have too many choices. I'll get back to you. Following up on the big events of last week, this episode was predictably going to see a lot of stuff being shaken up. Starting right off with the intro being changed from just Nodoka and Rablin to all three of the cures. Sure, they still ended up bringing out that cheap banner, but this was cute enough that I think I could call it a significant improvement. And after one recap of last week's episode, we got another of the stinger from that same episode. Still absolutely terrifying. Ow! Okay, legit hit my head there. Oh god. To this staff's credit, they even already changed up the opening with a new addition, but more on that later. For now though, we cut it over to our protagonists discussing their next course of action. Yeah, save that stuff for the live stream tonight! Though points to Peggy Time for once again proving that he's the biggest cinnamon bun this whole show. Anyway, Rablin understandably wanted to discuss ways they could get stronger after they just barely defeated the Mega Byogen from the last episode. Of course, the obvious solution would be to defeat all of their enemies ASAP with their new team finisher. And considering they needed teamwork to properly pull it off, which they did kind of lack over the two-parter, the healing animals figured they needed to work on it to ensure that they could use that attack when needed. Meanwhile, in the Byogen Kingdom, the king finally decided to show his big face again, much to Shindorina's delight. He wanted to introduce a new comrade for their side, the aforementioned Soichiro Hoshi-voiced rat, Bate Tomoda. Yes, I know he's supposed to be a capybara or whatever, but come on, they're both rodents, and you can't tell me he doesn't look like he escaped from Nim. Also, yeah, I guess he might have something to do with the inevitable Sixth Ranger of this show, but out of respect for your time and mine, let's save that stuff for later. For now, he started buttering up all of the other generals before revealing that he was fully aware of their activities over the course of the series, meaning that the rodent who was currently talking wasn't the capybara, but something else. I guess we'll learn more about that later, as the king sent him off on his first mission. He gladly accepted it, while giving a little chuckle that would make a certain Decepticon proud. Back with the Precure, they arrived at their training grounds, an empty quarry. And they wondered why the healing animals chose this place over some more traditional training grounds. No, I think it's because it's the only thing in Toy's budget at the moment. Also, I'm sure the animators had a lot of fun putting these girls in cosplay. Anyway, the healing animals just wanted a secluded spot where they could try to get their teammates to be able to better read each other without even talking. One exercise they devised was performing stuff I think I saw on SmackDown a couple nights ago. Yeah, I think I also saw that on SmackDown.
And here comes Lacey Evans. She's had her issues with Bayley and back to the past.
Considering that pro wrestling might be a little bit too advanced, they decided to try simpler stuff like charades. Which, you know, really doesn't play all that well unless you give them a subject, in this case, battle tactics. As a result, we only got some not so funny, awkward humor out of this, in my opinion. The next scene was a little better, with all three cures trying to perform the same charades, and got some funny poses, mostly from Nodoka. Not even sure why she's trying to do a crab walk here. However, all of the Erika faces in the world wasn't going to equate to good teamwork. They took a break to recharge and think up a new training regimen. While looking through their books, Peggy-tan ended up bringing up a good point that all of this training might actually deteriorate their teamwork before anything else. Rablin very begrudgingly acknowledged this, as well as once again said that if at all possible, she didn't want to involve 3 adolescent girls in their war. More so after they barely survived their last fight. Yeah, sorry you two, I think I found a new favorite. Once again, I gotta give credit to the show for keeping the characters consistent. Rablin is, and likely always will be, the biggest pragmatist on this team, and therefore will always be concerned about everyone's safety, even after getting Nodoka's assurance that she wanted to fight against the Byogens. And after learning that the enemy will inevitably only get stronger, it's only natural that some old concerns would resurface. It helps to further flesh out her character, while also giving us a sense that the stakes are constantly being raised, which they will be, as we'll soon see. For now though, they tried to check in on their partners, only to find them doing some word association that would at least make Arto proud.
I can't see what's happening. Are we boned?
Yeah, we're boned.
Meanwhile, the new general was scoping out the area. Jeez, Keiji didn't take Lucy's main character position to Rika all that well. And that's one reference down. He of course launched an attack using another stone elemental and an excavator as a catalyst. The Precure of course transformed and tried to fight Scavenger, but surprisingly to both them and us, Bate Tomoda got involved in the fight. And after giving them a little introduction, he made one heck of a first impression, taking on all three of them at once, while even trash-talking the whole time. Of course, they realized the Mega Byogen took priority over the Millennial Rat King, but just like any troll, he wasn't going to accept being ignored. It's not enough that he beats them down, but he also has to dab while doing it? Guys, this rat might be the most devious villain in the franchise. Eventually, they managed to show off the results of their training, which yes, included the weird word association to triple team the Boomer Rat. That's what happens when you steal everyone's undergarments, Tomoki. That's another reference down. Thus, they wrap things up with their Oasis. Again, nice that this animation is at least short because we got a pretty lengthy fight this week. However, even though his monster had been defeated, Bate Tomota didn't seem all that deterred. You're one to talk to you! Once again, the rat proved that he was a product of the current generation and didn't admit defeat, but rather just that his monster lost. Moreover, he just got satisfaction out of the fact he got a good fight out of the Precure, much to the idealistic Nodaka's shock. He also revealed his origins to them, pointing out that he was just born yesterday, and thus they haven't even seen a fraction of what he's capable of, and that more like him might appear. And with that, the episode ended with the whole team declaring that they would be strong enough to take him on and any future baddies. Well, almost the whole team. I didn't think it would be possible, but I think Mitsutake Hirota has really redeemed himself after the mediocrity that was episode 7 of this series, as the introduction of Bate Tomoda has effectively shaken up the status quo. And while not every gag in this episode quite hit the mark, I think the action and interactions of the characters more than made up for it. Let's get this right out of the way. The dabs aside, Bate Tomoda is a great new villain. Admittedly, part of it comes from him having a voice actor I really like performing him with a lot of energy and charisma. Though, while he is a little reminiscent of Charlie from Hakuto, he is far more intimidating, being the first general of this season to really get involved in the fight and even dominating through most of it. Our heroines once again only narrowly achieved victory by admittedly using unheroic tactics by triple teaming the rodent. Speaking of which, while this was certainly no Sakuga fest, this was still a decently hard-hitting fight to further push this new general as a strong opponent. This, combined with the looming threat of future villains, helps to really add to the tension, making it clear that things might get a lot worse for our heroines. This also once again led to Rablin proving that she's one of the best fairy partners ever, as the stress of ensuring the safety of her team almost got her to break down again. Thankfully, our heroines managed to find their own ways of improving their bonds without any complicated training, which often is the case. If anything else, it might have spared us from some not so great gags. Yeah, while I did like this episode a lot more than his previous outing, I'm still not a huge fan of Hirota's comedy, as it seems to rely a little too much on visual cues and are stretched on a little too long to get a real laugh out of me. Granted, some of the jokes hit, like the pseudo-pro wrestling bit, but that might be because that's my other passion. Still, for giving us an effective new villain to raise the stakes, and even giving the plushies time to shine, I guess I can forgive him for the paparazzi. I'm almost done with a certain side project I've been hinting at for the past couple of weeks, and while I do want to keep it a bit of a surprise, I will say it is musically related, and therefore could more easily be copyright claimed if I'm not careful. Fingers crossed. Regardless, I will still try to get it out as early as Wednesday this week while I still have a captive audience. Look forward to it, and until then, don't fail for now, my friends, and... Uh-oh. I think the Kira Yamato reference is getting restless. Yeah, I ain't dealing with this.